So it seems bloodthirsty terrorist Benjamin Netanyahu has decided to attack another sovereign country, this time Iran, to save his political future. You see, he butchered hundreds of thousands of people in Gaza, dropped countless 2,000-pound bombs to destroy the entire territory, illegally attacked Lebanon and Syria before occupying a large part of the country with the help of former ISIS terrorist Abu Muhammad al-Jolani. He thought his savagery would help him save his government and avoid the ongoing trial in corruption cases within the settler colony. But now that his every single act of barbarism has failed to achieve his desired objective, he is now set his eyes on attacking Iran. The danger of an all-out war has become quite imminent after the US ordered partial evacuation of its embassy in Baghdad in Iraq and asked the dependents of its military personnel in the Middle East to leave the region. Trump was asked about this, and his response was quite telling.
Give us an update on Iran.
Because you're in charge.
Say it again.
Yes, a question from Newsmax. Could you provide an update on Iran? We're hearing reports that U.S. personnel are being moved out of the region within striking distance.
Well, they are being moved out because it could be a dangerous place, and we'll see what happens. But they are being, we've given notice to move out, and we'll see what happens.
Is there anything that can be done to dial the temperature down in the region?
They can't have a nuclear weapon. Very simply. They can't have a nuclear weapon. We're not going to allow that.
Mr. President.
Military dependents in Bahrain and Kuwait will have the option of leaving those countries at government expense and with government assistance. This just shows the level of desperation in the US government to have its nationals back as soon as possible. I'm being told that Israel would attack Iran even without the US support. This comes at a time when we learned that the ongoing talks between Washington and Tehran was closer to a preliminary or framework agreement that includes provisions about uranium enrichment. Apparently, war criminal Netanyahu is not happy with the way these talks are moving. Of course, he wouldn't be. His only objective has been to attack Iran for years. He's also not happy that Israeli poodles in the West, like the US, the UK, Canada, they have made public pronouncements against him and other members of his medieval gang. It comes as the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, the UN's nuclear watchdog, formally finding that Iran isn't complying with its nuclear obligations for the first time in 20 years. Although Iran has denied all these allegations, it has said that it always adheres to its IAEA safeguarding obligations. But the bigger question is this: why do organizations like IAEA suddenly become so active on Iran, but you never hear a word from them on the nuclear stockpile of Israel? Even Western media outlets, including the BBC, never utter a word on this double standard. See how this evil woman from the Israeli government was left rattled when a reporter from RT asked her if a settler colony would also destroy its nuclear bombs should Iran agree to abandon its nuclear program.
Iran cannot have nuclear weapon, and this is what's in front of us. We understand it's not just a threat to Israel, but to the entire world.
What about Israel?
Israel is not posing a threat to anyone. We don't have any ambitions in any other country. Iran has ambition in the entire Middle East. They are posing a threat and are controlling and have destroyed Lebanon, controlling Lebanon through Hezbollah, destroying its politics, destroying its social fabric, destroying its economy. They did the same thing in Syria. They do the same thing in Iraq. They do the same thing in Yemen, destroying the population, destroying the country, bringing them on the verge of starvation. And this is what they're attempting to do in Jordan. That's what they're doing in Africa. That's what's happening. Who's arming al-Shabaab? Who's training al-Shabaab in Somalia right now? What's happening in Central and South America? Hezbollah is the biggest controller of illegal drug and weapon trafficking routes in Central and South America. Trump's war on the cartel is not just about the illegal drugs and weapon and the threat of those gangs, but it's the Iranian threat. And so Iran is a threat to the entire world. And Israel is at the front line of stopping the worst enemy the world can. And I don't understand that question.
With all respect, the question was not about Iran. The question was about
Israel's posing a threat on? Israel has never provoked, has never attacked unprovokably a neighboring country or someone else. This has always been on the defense of our country and our people. We have no ambition. When you hear the Ayatollah saying every single day about their ambitions, what about the Turkish ambitions? What about what's happening in Syria? Do you ask those leadership about it?
Of course.
Well, Israel is the key for stabilizing the Middle East.
So if Iran abandons its nuclear program, Israel will do the same?
Israel is what's stabilizing the Middle East. Iran is what's destabilizing, arming, and terrorizing the entire population around. Do you know what we've been through? Not just the Israeli people, the Lebanese people, the Iranian people, the Yemenite people. They yearn for freedom, for food, for economical prosperity. And who's preventing that? Iran.
Last 20 months of developments have conclusively established one fact, that the only danger to peace in the Middle East is this settler colony and its brutal terrorists at the helm of the government. The key to peace is not by surrendering to their money power or other acts of blackmailing. The key to global peace is to stop these genocidal maniacs from the settler colony built on the stolen land of Palestinians from carrying out their dirty game. Every single member of the Netanyahu regime is mentally sick and pure evil. You allow these sociopaths and depraved thugs to do what they want, and soon no one, I repeat, no one in the world would be safe. These people are pure filth and must be stopped at any cost. That's why the timidity of Keir Starmer, who would like to call himself a civilized person, in taking on a bloodthirsty terrorist called Netanyahu is mind-boggling. Just see Starmer's language in Parliament yesterday. The only time he uses despicable is when he is referring to Hamas. Clearly, he still doesn't believe that daily slaughtering of starving people by Israelis is something that can be labeled despicable. Even in his so-called criticism of Israeli action, his tone and the use of language are only suggestive of begging and pleading to Netanyahu.
Mr. Speaker, acting alongside our allies, we've sanctioned individuals responsible for inciting appalling settler violence and expansion. We've done that to uphold human rights and defend the prospect of a two-state solution. We will continue to support all efforts to secure a ceasefire, the release of all hostages despicably held by Hamas, and the humanitarian aid that needs to surge in.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the words of the former Israeli Prime Minister, what we are witnessing in Gaza is indiscriminate, limitless, cruel and criminal killing of civilians. More than 50,000 people have been killed. Children have been shot while queuing for bread. A growing number of genocide scholars, including leading Israeli academics, believe that a genocide is taking place. Under international law, we have a duty to prevent genocide. I served on the UN mission in Kosovo. We acted to stop mass killing there. What is the difference now? Will the Prime Minister please intervene immediately to alleviate human suffering and take steps to recognise the state of Palestine?
Mr. Speaker, she'll have seen the statement we made yesterday and the actions that we're taking with allies. The humanitarian situation is dreadful and distressing, and scenes that we've witnessed outside aid distribution centres are frankly heartbreaking. More aid is needed at volume and speed into Gaza, and Israel's plan for aid delivery is inadequate and insufficient. What is needed is for the UN and other agencies to deliver that aid according to well-established mechanisms, and Israel must allow this. Mr. Speaker, we are working with allies to do all that we can to make this happen, as well, of course, to get the hostages out who've been held for a very long time and a desperately needed return to a ceasefire.
Politicians like Starmer have demolished the myth that Western countries are civilized. If anything, they continue to showcase their barbarism in more brutal force than their ancestors did by colonizing other countries around the world in the past. But Trump is not taking Iran lightly. He knows that if attacked, Iran would target US embassies and other infrastructure in the Middle East. All are within the striking distance of Tehran. That's why Trump has asked all US embassies in the region to send cables with assessments about the potential threats to Americans and other US infrastructure. Meanwhile, US Special Envoy for literally anything and everything, Steve Witkoff, is expected to meet Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi in the Omani capital Muscat on Sunday to discuss the Iranian response to a recent US proposal. Trump wants Iran to abandon its nuclear program and destroy all enriched uranium, something that Tehran is not willing to do so. Only time will tell if Iran surrenders to Trump's bullying tactics or Tehran actually goes ahead and conduct a nuclear test. Thank you very much for your support of this platform and our journalism at buymeacoffee.com and Patreon. If you too think that our journalism is worth supporting, then you too should consider becoming part of it. Details are there in the description of this video. In the meantime, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so, because that's one of the many ways you can support independent journalism. God bless you all.